Okay, so just to make sure I got the question, when you have a parent that is abusive, not necessarily physically, but just mentally, emotionally, verbally, and the child becomes an adult and just wants to get away, how far can they get away? To what degree can they, separate themselves from the abusive parent, but yet also not be sinning to where they are fulfilling the commandment to honor your mother and father? Okay. Anybody want to jump on that? Then I can set you straight if you don't get it right.
I'm going last on this one. I'm 21.
But you do have parents, right?
So
Yeah. That's why I'm going last.
my thought on this is the idea of honoring your mother and father doesn't have to do with like a positive emotional relationship to them. I don't even know, especially once you're an adult, that it necessarily has to do with obedience to them. But it's that because people have bad parents. I mean, if they're not abusive, some people just have, bad parents. But that you honor them by recognizing they are the parent. That even if you have to take that step to say, being around you isn't good for me, you still don't go the next step to dishonor them, but you just peaceably go your way. God set up and designed the family to be the cornerstone of life, society, civilization, human relationships. Didn't someone recently say I have something close to no? And so the honoring of the parents has to do with the honoring of the family and God's design for the family. And if you got bad parents, well, they're still the parents, but you honor them not necessarily in that you have to, have to have a relationship with them, have to always be talking to them, have to be around them, but that you recognize and respect their position in that family design as being the parent. Does that make any sense? So, you might want to jump in, add something?
I would say in the case of, especially what you're talking about where there's abuse, that the honoring thing would be to not to hang around. It's not honoring to hang around and get abused. And you can't, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is them distancing themselves from their parent allows them to honor their parents. You can't honor someone if you're getting abused by them. Right. So I would say that's when you talk about time and constraints and stuff, it's that's what I'm hearing, and I could be wrong. This is just what I'm hearing, is that's a wound from constantly being nitpicked at, where they're worried about every little, if I step too far left, right, oh my gosh, I'm going to make a mistake, this and that. It's like that's a wound that was created in them. That's not how God operates. That's not loving. And so I would say that when you start worrying about, when you start trying to put things on a clock, I can be away from my parents for 10 months, but 10 months in one day, now I'm dishonoring. It's like, no, you got to look at the situation. And in the situation you're talking about, I would say that if they need to separate themselves from their parents or whoever, whichever one is abusive towards them, that allows them, that is the honoring thing. It's not honoring to hang around and be abused. And we have to understand that honor is not, like what Mark said, it's not just blind obedience, it's not slavery, it's not, it's respecting the role. I'll talk personally, my parents got divorced, my dad left us and stuff, but God's healed that in a miraculous way. Miraculous way. And it's very good. And, so he calls and stuff, and I try to honor him by answering his phone call. No matter what I'm doing, I try to. Now, sometimes I can. I'll call him, hey, sorry, I was at soccer, I was doing this, But there was a time and a season there where we didn't have much of a relationship. And I don't think that was being dishonoring. I think it was the result of the sin and the situation. And so I would say, first off, whoever you're talking about, I would say don't fall into guilt and condemnation over that. You know, that's not God. And then secondly, I would say that if it's abusive, that leaving is the honorable thing. That's what will allow them to continue to honor their parents.
Eric, do you have anything on this?
So, given my youth, I wanted to take a little bit of time on my laptop because I have amazing software that is really helpful in things like this. I don't know if, I think everything that these guys have said is spot on, but I don't know if it maybe fits the context if we're talking about honoring your father and mother that we have in the Ten Commandments. Because in Deuteronomy 5, this kind of the second half of it is that your days may be prolonged and that it may go well with you on the land which the Lord your God gives you. And so looking at the Hebrew behind the word honor in that verse, Deuteronomy 5:16, I want to say it's almost this sense of learn everything you can from your parents as God has commanded you, so that you may have as much wisdom walking into the rest of your life. That seems to be the sense of what I'm seeing, at least looking at the passage in Deuteronomy where we get that command in the Ten Commandments. And so I think that it changes maybe the nature of the answer to the question, because it's about, regardless of the emotional wounds that I've experienced, what can I learn either in what not to do as a parent or in life? What can I learn not to do by the example of my parents, and what can I learn to do, borrowing Patrick's comment on both the apophatic and the cataphatic side? We have to look at what can be learned negatively, what can be learned positively, and we have to take in as much as we can from our parents. And that seems to be the sense of the word honor in that passage. So I really appreciate what you brought up there. I think it really does get into this whole the redemptive side of things, right? And I think the mistake that I have seen in my own relationships with my parents is the redemptive side of that is not me honoring them. It is not honoring another human to have a redemptive relationship with them. That is an act of honoring God. And I think that's the one thing that as humans we can struggle with the most in relationship, is feeling like in order to be honored and respected by others, they need to be seeking to have a redemptive relationship with us. And sometimes that's projected onto us, that in order to honor somebody, we need to be seeking a redeeming relationship with them. And I'm like, you might be able to say that that's true if you're putting in you're honoring them by honoring God with that relationship. So I really appreciate what you had to say on that.
Hear my cry for truth, my cry for truth, my cry for you.